So when you're ready, we're ready.
Dock så är det jobbigt att tajma. Jag tror inte titta på en dock så är det gratis. Fast det är väldigt mycket också.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll flip the lights on for 1 minute while we talk here.
Talking about the setup for the.
Yes. Here's what we're going to do. This going into our 3rd year of doing this now, we've kind of played with some different ideas. One of the things that has stood out to me, having have coached in Sweden before, and especially talking to coaches, and I know you all deal with this. It is very rare in Sweden, and it's the same way in the United States, to be honest, that you coach one position all the time. Usually you're coaching, if you're a DB coach, we're talking about you have to coach everything sometimes, and depending on what team you're on or where you are, you have to coach a variety of positions. One thing that we decided to do this year is tonight we're going to sit everybody through some general topics and positions that you might not normally play or coach. It is important to know those. I'm a line coach. I did not play offensive line. Okay, it is imperative to know areas. Probably the position I felt weakest at over my career is DB and quarterback. I spent a lot of time this offseason learning quarterback play from people I know. Because if I'm ever in a position I need to coach my quarterbacks, I need to know how to coach my quarterbacks. So I think it's really important to have an understanding of the game. Now, I would argue with you that the most important place to know, I don't think you can ever be a head coach or coordinator and not understand what goes on inside the box. The box being the tackle box. From tackle to tackle on both sides of the ball is where the game is won and lost. You've got to understand play in that area. A lot of people that have never coached the line or the D line aren't comfortable with it because it is such a different area. So you're going to hear some different things. I'm going to talk to you this evening. The first thing I'm going to cover, we're going to talk about the importance of teaching with progression. And I'm going to use my O-line run game progression to teach you how to use progression. After that, Coach Brewer is going to come up and give you a general overview of quarterback play techniques and mechanics. And then Coach Colbert's going to give you an overview of, he's going to start you in the process of DB play. All right. Then we're going to break out to different rooms, and you're going to know what all of us kind of do, and you get to go to whatever room we're in and ask questions that you need help with things you're trying to learn to what you're doing right now. So instead of just standing here and talking about O-line play for 3 hours, I want to answer stuff about line play, run game, pass protection that you guys need help with. Does that make sense? So that's why we're going to do that. It's a little different this year. Progression. What does it mean to use progression? Who can tell me what does it mean to use a progression? What's progression mean?
You start with the basic, the first step, and then you go on to the second step.
Good. An order from basic to more difficult. A progressive order of teaching. All right. It is very important if you're going to coach, you have to have a teaching style that players can learn from. I can't just show up on the first day of football and install our power play and expect everybody to block it and run it the right way. I've got to teach the proper techniques. In order to be an effective coach at any position and at any sport, you have to understand your position enough to know what is the progression I need to teach at. By progression, we're talking about what do I need to start with and what am I trying to get to. Because my job as a coach, as a line guy, my job is to take you as an offensive lineman as you are now and make you into what you're capable of being. Well, I have to have a plan to do that. That is progression. Now, there's a couple of ways to teach progression. What works is what's best for you and what your players buy into. All right, but I want to cover that a little bit. First off, teaching methods. There's a lot of different methods on how to teach things. I am a fan of the whole, part, whole method. Whole part whole. Has anybody ever heard of this? Okay. We did this today with punt. When we got everybody there for punt, the first thing we did is we lined everybody up and we showed them what the whole punt looks like. The big picture of the punt. Then after that, we broke up into circuits and we worked what? Parts of it. Eventually, hopefully by Monday, the team can line up on your own and do what? Run the whole punt now. Okay? Why do I feel this is a very important teaching method? I think it is hard to teach the parts when people don't have a big picture of what the parts of the puzzle fit into. So to me, if I've got a puzzle in front of me and it's broken up into a 1,000-piece puzzle, it's going to be really hard to put that puzzle together unless I've seen what first? The picture. I've got to see the picture of the puzzle. So that to me is the whole part whole method. I've got to see the whole picture in order to really understand it. Then I've got to break that picture down into the little pieces of the puzzle, and then I'm going to see it all when I put it back together and have a better understanding because I put every piece of the puzzle in myself. Does that make sense to everybody? It's the whole part whole method. Right? I believe in this method when we're talking about teaching, especially when it comes to football. Today, with the offensive line, we worked techniques, but the techniques we worked are techniques for mostly power football play, for power. A lot of the techniques were drive blocking, getting physical movement up front, work some pulls, and then at the end we put it together and we ran the play, trying to look at the movement we're getting. All right, that was the kind of the philosophy behind the way practice was. Every day you go to practice, you have to have a progression for what you're teaching that day. All right, I want to tell you what our progression, how it works for me with our guys. I have a run blocking progression. It is on a sheet of paper. Okay, and we're going to talk about you need to get your progression on paper and why. Every day when we go to practice, our practice has a schedule. Our practice schedule is progressive. We start off, we do warm-ups. After warm-ups, we go to individual. After Indy, we go to inside run. What do you think I'm working in Indy if after Indy we go to inside run with my offensive line?
What you're going to run in the inside run period.
Yeah. I've already taken a look ahead in my practice planning. I know what plays we're calling against an inside run. I know what defenses we're going to run them against. I script that. So I know we're going to run power against a 43. We're going to run it into the 3 technique. In the next play, we're going to run it away from the 3 technique. So I know I need to work on double teams on a 3 technique that day. I need to work on my skip pulls that day. I need to work on my down block and tackle to a linebacker because those are all techniques we're going to run into here. If I'm going to blitz linebackers here, I have to work picking up those blitzes in my individual that day. So my progression in practice is, in individual, I'm working things here to go to inside run. And then we're going to go back to Indy. And then we're going to go team pass. So in this Indy segment, I'm running stuff to work pass protection, to work what blitzes do they give us and how are we going to pick them up front, the right techniques. We don't just come into Indy and run whatever and then go straight into inside run. There's a reason we're working the things we're working. You have to have a progression to everything you do. Now this is individual small progression on a scale of practice. I'm going to talk about progression with the way you teach in general. Now, there's 2 ways to do progression. There's forward progression and then there's backwards progression, which is known as regression. All right? It's the opposite. I have always taught progressively. I have changed that with line play in the last year of my life. Okay? I've changed that with line play. Why? I ran into the same thing that your U17 film is showing me you have right now. I'll get into that in a second. I don't want to get ahead of myself. All right, so we're going to talk about the importance of progression. Go ahead and hit those lights. Here is our progression for run blocking with everything we do.
It's really tiny now.
Yeah, I know, I'm getting there, sorry.
You might have a great eyesight, but
My fat fingers are in the way. All right, run blocking. We start off, here's my philosophy on run blocking. Without our feet being right, we cannot get our body in the proper position to make a block. So if we're going to get our feet right, if we have to get our body in front of somebody, we have to move our feet to get there. The very first thing we do in run blocking is our feet. Our feet have to be right. Line guys, we worked first thing today. Duck walks. Duck walks going to teach us to get our feet right. Then I progressed to drive fits. This is where things are different than what I used to do. I used to go from duck walk straight into first step, then into second step, and then into fitting and driving. All right, I'd always believed I'd work from the three-point stance forward. I have changed that in the last year to where I work from the fit position back down to the three-point stance. Why? All right. First off, and when we're thinking progression, you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. Well, I was doing it that way because that's the way I'd always done it. Well, the way you've always done it isn't always right. Here's the reality of it. We get into spring practice this spring, and our two-step punch looked really good, but we are not moving the line of scrimmage. We're getting a hat on a hat, we're two-step punching, we're hitting, and we're just stopping our feet. We weren't driving guys. I see a lot of the same thing on your guys' film right now up front. It's a common problem. I have the same one. So I'm going, how do I get my guys to drive? I need to be driving more. And then the more I went back and I started studying film over the last 5 years, looking at all our film, games and players I have that get a ton of movement up front. All right? So I studied my own film of what our guys did and what was successful. And I started to realize the two-step punch is important, but I have guys that don't two-step punch very well that can drive their guy 20 yards downfield. But I have guys that can two-step punch really, really well, but they just stand there and at the line of scrimmage and lean on a guy. So I started to look at some of the mechanics of going into that, what's more important. So I started putting us in a fit and leaning all our weight into the bag to get a feel of how to get our weight forward, because I noticed our weight was back in our hips. We weren't coming out of our hips to do this. So our drive goes to we fit up and lean, then we drive, and then we work push-pull. So we go body, position, lean. I'm going to show you this in drills. Next thing I work after we have a good feel for our fit, a good feel for our lean, then I'm going to work our stance. Then we're going to get down in our stance and work our first two steps. We work first step, second step punch. Your punch comes on your second step. Centers have to be snapping while you do this stuff.
Coach, question for you.
Yes.
Have you adapted the same thing for the pass pro? Starting in a pass set and then kind of regressing?
Yes, but I've always done that.
Okay.
And that's another thing I thought about. I do feet, but I've always worked the sit position first. And then that's another reason I thought, why am I teaching pass pro from the top down and run blocking from the ground up? So switched it. I will tell you this, I'm seeing a lot better results on our guys right now driving a sled than we've ever had, because we are feeling that drive. Okay, so that's why I did that with the line today. All right. After stance, we work specific block techniques, drive blocks, down blocks. The down block has a progression. Linebacker level is next, has a progression to how it works. Then we work releases. Our releases are when we're leaving a lineman. For example, when we run our power read, like you're running, you have to release a guy. You don't block a guy. Well, if that guy's trying to hit me, I have to know how to release him. Then we work reach blocks. There is a progression on a reach block to go from reaching play side to backside and cutting. We have a progression for how we cut. Then there's pulls. There's two types of pulls. We teach trap pull first, the kick and the log, and then I teach skip pull. Why? We trap pull more than we skip pull. So I choose to focus on that more frequently because it's what our team does more. Your progression, your position has to be very dependent on what you do the most on the field. Does that make sense? So if you don't ever press your DBs, your progression to press, that's probably the last thing you're going to work in your progression, not the first. Your progression's got to be based on what you need your kids to do well. My biggest thing is I love movement up front. I like to move the line of scrimmage. I don't want to take it. I want to move it. If we move the line of scrimmage that way, we're moving the football. The other thing that's very important to me is that we stay on blocks. We have to stay on blocks, so we work everything with a later whistle. And then the other thing that's very important to me is we have to get on and stay on linebackers. Who's usually the best tackler on the field? Linebackers. So we have to get on them and stay on them. So they're early in my progression. All right. Next is double teams. After double teams, we work our way down. There's a large progression with double teams. And then after that, we work cross blocks and get into some more specific types of techniques. So this is our run block progression. All of my teams in my organization have this. My middle schools have it. My JV, my freshmen, my middle schools. Everybody is to be working on this progression in our organization. If you have your progression down, the kids at all the levels are learning the same techniques in the same order. And the thing that is important about that is they know what you emphasize the most in the club. Do you have a tackling progression on paper? Is everybody using that? Should be. Okay? So those are things that are going to help get everybody on the same page. Half your coaches in your organization can't walk out to practice and go, well, I don't know what order to teach this in. Because the club should provide a progression at position that you guys find fit. How to do that? Well, you said it yesterday. At the top of your pyramid sits the U17. The U17 should provide the progression of teaching for the positions at the other levels. All right? Now, the age determines the progression. I'm going to tell you right now, your younger kids in U11 aren't going to get down to all our double teams and stuff. They're going to work their base drive stuff. They're going to work those things constantly, and they're probably never going to leave that. But if they do that really well by the time they go to U13, then they progress. Does that make sense? So you kind of check off down your list as things are coming easier. Okay? You might have any questions about progression? I'm going to throw our progression up here on the run game. How many of you are using progression right now? Sebastian, do you have progression?
It's so interesting because what you're saying about starting in a fit position, because that's really, I kind of started doing that.
It's different too.
It is very different, and it's like when you start figuring out that actually going from a stance, that is the really tough job. Like that's the most complex.
You know, here's what I've learned too about the progressive side of it. And how do you know if a progression works? Well, I didn't know if it was working, so I asked my players. What do you think about this? Is different. Well, here's what they started to realize. How many of you have ridden a bike before? Ride bikes? Okay. Did you hop on a bike and just know how to ride it, or did you have to do training wheels? And then after training wheels, you go to one training wheel. There's a progression to learning how to ride a bike. If not, you're going to fall on your face. Well, once you learn the way it feels to pedal, you have this thing called muscle memory. And so once you've been off the training wheels, do you ever put them back on? No. You can not ride a bike for 10 years and you can hop on it and still ride it. Okay? Well, the thought behind the progression, teaching it the other way for me was, if I can get their muscle memory to remember what a fit position should feel like, that forward lean and fit, if they're not in that while they're blocking, they should feel that they're wrong. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm teaching the progression the way I'm teaching the progression now. All right, so that's the whole purpose behind it. I'm going to take you through our progression real quickly and then kind of explain why. We start off with duck walk. Our feet are our most important part. All right, I'm just going to take you through these drills. We did this today. All right, Jensen, this is going to look very similar to a lot of stuff we did today. All right, some of this film is our team currently, some of it's some older film. But every day we're starting off, we're doing short 6-inch steps, pounding our feet. All right, angle of forward. This guy's one of our better linemen right now. He's a potential all-state player. He's our PP on punt. He's the one that was flipping guys over. Next thing, we did this drill today. I put them in a fit position. Their feet already know how to duck walk. They should have heels in, toes out, because that's how we duck walk. We should have a Z in the knee like we duck walk. Hands should be in good position, flat backs, eyes up, bent knees, And all our body weight is into this bag. All of it. And when I say hit, we are going to roll our hips and just fall. Why? To get the feeling. We're not going to do that when we play in a game. We're doing that now to get the feeling of what it's like to push somebody, to physically move them with our bodies. That's what I'm trying to teach right here. Once we feel that, we know what push should feel like. From there, now that we have a feeling of being in that fit and moving, now we're going to work first step. You guys, we've done this a million times since I've been here. We line up across and work our first step. On first step, we cock our hands. Second step on the O-line, you actually punch on your second step. Why do we punch on our second step on the O-line? The reason we do that is because you have more power into contact on your second step than you do on your first. D-line is taught to step and punch on the first. You strike with your hands once. This is why we play back off the ball. If we crowd the ball, we don't have room to get 2 steps down before contact. If we're off the ball, we do. Okay, this is more of a zone style teaching. That would be you guys want 2 steps in the ground before you get into contact. Now these are progressive. We teach first step first. Then we teach second step punch. Then what are they doing after that? Duck walking. It's a progression of the things we've learned, tying them all in so we're practicing all of it. We should have our chest over our knees over our toes in run blocking. Why don't I teach this first anymore? Well, I felt like if we're doing that right there, our weight's got to be back in our butts so we don't fall down, doesn't it? Well, I don't want our weight in our butts. I want our weight forward. That's why I did the fit first. Now we're going to get our feet and body position right. Then we're going to go back to leaning again. All right, so now we've learned how to move our feet right through duck walk. We've learned what the fit position's like. We've learned how to first step and second step. So guess what we have to do with all that now? Now we have to put that together into a step lean progression. All right. So this is not something we just start with. This is something we've progressed to. 2-step, first step, reload. He was too high, I was telling him to bend. We put our hands behind to make them slap hands to make sure they're pulling their hands back. Punch and lean. So that's a combination of every drill you've seen up to this point. Does that make sense to everybody right now? If we had just started with this, it would have been really sloppy, wouldn't it? But we teach the drills in a progression. Same thing, it's a center. Our centers punch on the first step, not the second step. It's a little different. Andy, that's Dane, by the way. Colbert, he's a freshman. Just want to point that out. That kid's going to be really, really, really good. Same thing. Working down the lines to keep our feet wide.
What's his name? Is it nice? The guy closest.
His name's Hutch.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's going to Wabash College to play D-line now. He just set the school bench record. He benched 370 pounds. How many kilos is that?
375? This is like...
Curl heavy.
Curl.
So you'll see his progression here. It's the same concept, but now instead of leaning and falling, we're driving. Look at all his weight forward. He rolls his hips at the end because we want to get a feel for finishing a block. All right, now, this is the same thing now. All right, we're going to do the same thing we did before, but I want them to get the feel for what it's like to finish a block. How do you finish a block? You roll your hips. Okay, we worked that today. You roll your hips by extending them forward. So this is the progression of that. This kid right here, he's currently on our team. His name's Trey Livingood. He'll be a scholarship Division I football player. As you can tell, he's pretty powerful. Same drill. 2-step punch, drive, and extend. Look at the push they get at the end. We didn't used to come off the ball like this. I'm noticing a big difference in how physical we're being because of the way we're teaching this right now. They have to push to come out of their hips like that. Now I'm going to show you examples. Here's what I've done on our film. I'm showing you our progression. Now you're going to see game film of our guys doing those things. You'll notice the tight end up top. I think I highlighted him. There are 2 ways I teach a drive block. two ways. One is you saw our guys falling, squeezing their hips and laying out. Some guys, and here's why I've started doing that. I used to only teach, we would drive bags, and then at the end we'd roll our hips and stand them up. Well, then I started that's what I've always done.
Climb a tree.
Yeah, climb the tree. Then I realized as I'm going back and watching film this winter, some of my best blockers never did that. They bury their guys into the ground, but they never come out of their hips to do it. So I started to realize we've got two kinds of guys that are laying people out. We've got the guys that hit and roll their hips and flip them over. And then we've got the guys that drive them and extend their hips and lay them out that way. I don't care which one they do. What do I care about? Movement. So I'm actually teaching both now because I have guys that do it two different ways. But both involve squeezing your glutes and rolling your hips. Is everybody with me here? Does this make sense? So you're going to see these are guys right now that never roll their hips up. They roll them forward and are able to get pushed like they're laying out on that bag. So those lean drills, see that tight end drive, and boom, extends. You'll see it from the end zone better. See him up top. Watch him base drive, boom, boom, boom. Now watch here as he extends and pushes his hips and finishes his block down. See that? That's that drill where we laid out on the bag. He felt him on his heels and finished the block. It's Andrew Miller. He's going to Pikeville to play. He's going to play college football. Okay. Up top. I don't have him highlighted here. Just kidding.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I've never used Huddle before. Come on, you dirty. I've got this damn touch pad. Watch the right tackle here. This is Trey, the kid you just saw. This is him as a sophomore. He was 15 years old in this film. Watch him drive, and he never raises out of his hips, but he keeps drive, and then he flattens them out. Boom, right there.
Wow, 15. Jeez.
This is him. He's on our right side right now, our right tackle. Gets into him, drives his feet wide. Once he feels it going, watch him squeeze and extend his body to finish the block. All right, now this is the other form of base drive track that I was telling you about. Drive your guy and extend your hips up, trying to climb them like a tree. This is what I've always taught since I've been here. So I've changed my teaching a little bit in the last year. This is not wrong. Watch this. The right tackle here. This is Barnes, by the way, Colbert. He's now my current O-line coach, by the way. This kid coaches my line. We had him our first 2 years there, and now he's my line coach. He is a hip roller. Watch him. See how he raised him up and then finishes him? It's a different style, but still just as effective. All right, so that's why I'm now teaching two, because I have guys that it's both ways. Okay, so I'm teaching two.
And I guess it depends on their body composition.
It depends on what they do.
And what they do, yeah.
Yeah, because why should I take a guy like Barnes that naturally rolled his hips and has strong enough to lift and finish and make him do something he doesn't do well? Andrew Miller was a drive guy. Trey Livingood is a guy that buries you with his weight. Why would I make him hold his weight back to try to lift a guy up? So I'm teaching both. They know they have a choice, and as long as they're putting bodies on the ground, I don't care. And I've noticed that I don't overcoach which one to use, and they tend to find what's best for them. Some do a combination of both. All right, now that we've worked the base drive, now we've got to learn how to do it at linebacker level. All right, so now we work linebacker level. I teach, we're going to get on linebackers as fast as we can, and we're not going to dance with them. We're running over their ass. All right? Because if I'm running over, and in inside zone especially with you guys, we're going to work this tomorrow. I want to run over a linebacker. Because if I stop and I dance with him, my back can't choose where to go. If I go right through the middle of him, he has a choice. What are his choices if I'm coming right down the middle of you? What is your choice?
Left or right?
Okay, you have three choices. Left, right,
Forward.
get your ass run over. That's what your choices are. If you go left, I take you left, where's the back go? Right. So on zone, we want to get on those linebackers now and let our back make choices. What we can't do is stand there and dance with them, because then a back can't make a decision. Does that make sense? So we teach a ton of this. Now notice how I had the pads there. Once we hit them, we're full speed to them. Once we hit them, our base has to do what? Widen. Why do we have to widen our base once we hit them? It does two things for us. Right before I hit this chair, I'm going to run at this linebacker as fast as I can. But I have a problem. My feet are narrow, so where are my hips? Up. Where do I want my hips? Well, the wider my feet get, the lower my hips drop. That's one thing that helps me. We squat here so we can bend our hips. You squat here, it's hard to bend. Okay, that's one thing. Here's the other thing. Coach, stand up here. This is in any position on the football field. I saw Coach Brewer doing this today. If I hit him and my feet are narrow, I'm hitting the guy narrow, push me. I have no balance. But if I hit him and I get my feet wide, push me down. I can't move. I have stability. He can't throw me off of him. We have a linebacker that's really good. His name's Carter Smith. He's 215 pounds. He runs a 4.6 40. And if you go to him with narrow feet, he benches 270. He will chuck you and throw you and make the play. If you don't drop your hips when you get to him, he will olay and rip underneath you and go right by you. You've got to widen your feet when you get to him. So that is why when we do this drill, they don't widen their feet until they see how the bag is at linebacker level. Once they make contact, watch Trey down here. The kid that drove the guy and laid him out 15 yards downfield, this is him now. He was 245 on film. He's about 275 now. He excites me. See how he comes out of his hips? Now, he didn't drop them near as much as I wanted. Justice is really good at, see how his hips are down and then they go up? He does a really nice job of this. We work this out of every stance. Now you're going to see it in the game. Just watch the linebackers here. This is our trap play. We block 2 down linemen. Just watch their linebackers. Watch how quick we're to them. Boom. Running on them. We go right down the middle of them and we're to second level fast. End zone view of it. It's the exact drill we just ran. We avoid. We're on them, running our feet, finishing the blocks. Same technique. Same thing as the drills. All right, watch the linebacker here. Here, I didn't mark all these marks. Watch the right tackle. Right guard, right tackle. These two. Boom. See how he's on the backer? All right, right guard. That's Justice. That's the kid in the red tank top. That's our PP on punt. Watch how quick he gets the second level to that linebacker. He hits him. Boom. Then he widens his base and runs his feet. He's able to stay on his block. Okay. Next thing we work is the progression is a pin block. Pin block is our down block. I don't have film right now on those in practice. Our down block is our drive block. Watch our right tight end over here. It is any power. You're pinning on power sometimes. If you run power to the nose, your guard's going to pin the nose. He's going to pin him. It's a down block, keeping him down, running off your butt. Yeah. This is power. All right. We run a shitload of power. You know that. I don't run inside zone anymore. We run outside zone and we run power. Okay. We don't run inside zone. Watch his down block. There is a progression to how we teach pins. Once we get to them, there's progression. First part of the pin is we stop penetration. What does penetration mean? Jensen, what's penetration?
Get through something?
Yeah, we don't let him get upfield. If he penetrates, he's in the backfield. First thing we have to do is we hit the V of his neck to keep him from getting in the backfield. Now, if I'm pinning, means I'm blocking down here. Where's the ball going? Most likely. There. So once he doesn't get through here and the ball goes by me, what's he likely to do if he's any good? He's going to pursue over the top, isn't he? So I've got to stop penetration, and then I've got to punch my hand in my hip. Punch and keep him from pursuing over the top and rolling back over and making the play. It's a two-phase block. Watch the tight end. This is Spencer Stone. He plays D-line at Center College right now. He was one of the best pinners I've ever coached. You'll see it from the end zone.
That's Damian, right?
Yes. Spencer's the tight end. He's on the left. To stop power, they'd put their best D lineman. Teams will start putting their best D lineman in our C gap to our tight end. I never had to double team because Spencer could pin like a man. All right. He gets under his pads. He stops him from penetrating in the backfield. Right. Boom. That guy in the backfield. Now watch this guy's trying to spin back. Do you see it? But because he's so physical with his outside arm and his feet, he buries him inside. And we get tackled by a safety.
Shouldn't Damian run him over?
Don't even get me started. He liked it better when we blocked everybody. All right, we're going to pin over here. Our tight end's going to pin, our tackle's going to wrap. Watch the pins over here. Boom. Actually, the pin came from the tight end, I lied. Or the tackle. Watch the right, watch this left tackle pin. He's got to stop penetration. Boom. See that? Stop the penetration. Now this guy's going to try to play over the top. See how he stays with him? He doesn't let him fight across his face. We cut off his ass and we're gone. That's the kind of plays Damian likes. They're never touched. 6,000 of his 6,050 yards in high school were probably untouched. All right, watch my tight end again. This is Spencer again. Watch my tight end on the right side. He's going to block down. This is a great play. Boom, stops penetration. That's a big dude he's going against. Watch this guy fight Spencer to get across the top.
Wow.
He holds his ass. That's holding. See, he doesn't get touched again. That's a lot of the time, by the way. That's why I love power. There's like 16 guys on that side of the ball, and we say, we're going to run it anyway. I love it. All right, again, C-gap defender. Spencer blocks down on him, pins. The guy's trying to spin over the top. Spencer fights it, ball's by. Same thing over here. Just showing you some different samples. That these are the drills we work and how they translate to the field. This is a tackle over. That's Coach Barnes, our line coach now. You get a really good pin block here and a really good pin block here. There's two good pins on this play. This is on the goal line. Boom. Pin him in. Don't let him penetrate. Look at these two pin blocks right here. This guy tries to roll back over the top. Barnes says, no, you don't. And he keeps fighting him. The guy spins late. Ball's already by. All right, next phase is reach blocks. Okay, everybody with me?
Yeah.
We need to turn the light on. Are we good? I know it's hot in here. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, reach blocks. We work it no different than anything else. It's a progression. We start with the down lineman, then we work the linebackers. We take a deep 45, whether we're covered or uncovered makes a difference. I work covered with down guys. I work uncovered to linebackers, and it all is a wash in the game. Okay? I'm going to reach and run to his outside hip. Once I make contact, I'm running. The defense runs with me. Now I'm going to pull with the inside arm, push with the outside arm. We work the push-pull constantly while we're running.
Do you guys run the outside zone with the push-pull?
Watch this. Watch your right tackle up here. Coach Barnes again. He was damn good at this stuff. He took drills to the field well. Watch his reach. That's a really athletic kid he's going against. See the push-pull?
Yeah.
See him running, push-pull, boom. Rolls his hips into him into the play.
It's funny, the push-pull is exactly what you teach the D-line, but the other way.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Jensen, we did a drill today. What did I have you guys do with your backs? The push-pull drill we did. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
What did I have you guys do?
You told us to have our hands on someone's back and they should lean backwards.
And that's a drill you guys haven't done. Carl, remember that drill today? So Jensen would turn his back to me and fall back on me, and I would hold his back plate. And while I'm driving him, he would turn, and I would have to fight it with my arm. And then he'd turn the other way, and I'd have to push the other way. So we're fighting pressure with pressure. Because a good D lineman ain't going to stand there and just let you block his ass out. He's going to fight you. So you have to be able to fight back the other way. Just started doing that last year, and we had a lot of success. We got much better at push-pulling when we started to feel pressure. And using the back plate, and I don't have film of that drill, but we ran that drill today.
But you guys.
Carl was there when we did that.
Yeah, you guys, like before the game film that we watched before, like last year or 2 years ago, you were more reaching and running than reaching and pulling.
In pulling, yeah,
Yeah.
we were just running. We weren't.
Yeah, that's
Because
that's
the more
different.
film I watched, the more I realized we're getting them reached, and then they're fighting across our face late because we're not being strong enough with their
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
So I've progressed my teaching based on things we're having trouble with in games.
I think the trouble for us that we've had when we have kids, when we try to push-pull, is that we end up getting holding flags for it.
Well, your hands have to be inside the framework. Now, Jensen, something we talked about, you tend to get your hands outside. And you talked about that today. You said you get your hands on the shoulders a lot.
Yeah, stop moving their feet.
And you got to replace. Boom, you said stop moving your feet. Something. Wait till you watch this game clip I show you. Something I realized, we've run a shitload of outside zone the last couple of years. And I love it. We have 3 plays that go outside that are different to the defense, but to the offensive line, it's all reaching and running. It's outside zone. One thing I realized, we'd hit them and get to them, and then they'd fight over the top of us because we stopped running our feet. This is a great example of what I've done. You know what the problem was? Well, we're brother-in-law. And if you ever heard, it's what I call brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, all right? We should help each other out. We're brother-in-laws, all right? So if they're best friends. So when he goes to reach him, it is by nature this kid tends to let him reach him in practice so he doesn't have to work as hard. I can't stand that. Because the guy you're playing in the game ain't going to let you reach him well. So I coach the defense as much as anything on scout when we're doing this stuff now. Watch how hard he tries to cross his face. Because I tell him, do not let him reach you. Don't let him reach you. I'm yelling at him, don't let him reach you, don't let him reach you. And you see how far we string the drill out? Now watching the game now. Watch my tight end up top on the left. We're watching right here, I think. I marked this one. Yeah. Watch him. Reaching. He's fighting, he's still fighting. We're still reaching and running. We're still reaching and running. That's the drill we just did. But you don't, one thing that's important about progression is I don't know to take the drill that far unless I really evaluate our film and see what are we getting and what are we not doing right. In order to teach progression that is needed, you have to watch what's giving you problems. You have to know what your weaknesses are. He's fighting across my face. I stay with him. Look, he takes 2 guys out. And we come right off his butt. If he had to stay on that block, that's a 0-yard play. Okay, good. Next, and I'm taking you through some of the progression here. Yes.
A drill I've been doing for that to keep reaching is put 2 tackles in front of each other and tell them to reach each other. But then then you need pads on because they're gonna get.
They're hitting. Yeah. That's exactly right. Now we're in a time right now where we're not allowed to use pads.
Yeah.
I actually am a fan of teaching technique without pads because if they can do it right without the pads, when you put pads on, it tends to be way better. So I'm a big fan of push-pull technique with no pads. There's days where I'll have my guys take their pads off to work reach stuff so they can't be lazy and just lay on each other. All right, but that's a really good idea. That gives your guys reps, both guys reps. That's smart.
And if they get into the real fighting mode, it's like I gotta beat you, and
it's just really good. It's competitive. I love that. That's a great idea. This is our power double team. Power double team is like when you guys run power. We double that 3 technique. This is the drill. We're doubling him to the backside backer. Our eyes have got to be on there. This is a progression for us. I'm going to show you the progression. Now, I won't spend forever on this because, Sebastian, we've done this a million times. We do something unique that I've not seen a bunch of. Are you doing the pop step?
Sure.
Okay. You teaching pop step? Okay. You guys know that, like, I don't know anybody else that does that. It's very rare that we're teaching that, and I've had coaches ask me about it. Here's what we do when we double team. There's 2 guys involved in the block. There's the inside guy, which is called the post man. What holds up your fence? A fence post. He's the guy that holds up the defender. He's the sturdy holder of the fence. The other guy is the mailman. What's a mailman do to your mail?
Delivers.
He delivers it. That guy delivers the blow that's going to move that D lineman. I've got a postman, I've got a mailman. And the mailman's job is to move that guy. The postman's job is to hold up a fence and not let him cross it. All right? Now, we do something unique. The guy that is covered, his help is coming from here. There's no help on the other side. What if this D lineman slants across his face? What's he have to do? He has to take him. All right, so right now, Sebastian, come on up here with me. If you get anything out of this clinic about line play, I want you to learn this right now. Come next to me. This is something that's really, really helpful. Right now, we're doubling this guy to here. We're going to say we're doubling him to Andy, because that's a little more... Andy looks excited about double teams right now. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so we're doubling to Andy. If this guy plays out, who's going to take him? Sebastian, and he's in a really good position. He's not going to get outside of Sebastian. But what if he does this and I step here? We've got a problem. He's going to beat me. So we do what's called a pop step. I know my help is here. So with my inside step, my first step, I'm just going to pick it up and put it back down. And then my second step is here. So if he, go ahead and push the chair a little bit. So if I step here, if he comes across me, I can actually drive him now. And I do my pop step away from the defender. We never get beat inside on our double teams because of that pick up and put down. It's made a huge difference on our double teams. All right, so watch my guys. See how he's got his foot next to his? This is where the pop step's going to take place. Why does he have his foot there?
So you can't move it.
Yeah, I don't want him to step in. Because if he steps in, he's taking his hips out of the double team. I just want him to pick it up and put it down. And it can even move forward a little, but it can't move in. So we really train this, and we double people every chance we get because I love movement. If you're moving bodies, you're causing linebackers to avoid them. Watch that pop step. Boom. Now he drop stepped.
Yeah.
That wasn't good. He stepped back. So, and then we're coming off the backers. This is my two stud linemen right now. This was last week. He's going to pop step away from here. He's going to deliver the blow. Eyes are to here. We've just gotten to this progression in our summer workouts right now. We just did this last week. So they're rusty on the pop steps and stuff. All right, now watch it in the game. Oh, Luda's not in here. This is our power read. This is what you guys are running. I like it with the tight end to take away the crap he's been talking about. I put a tight end there because it widens your end. And the read's wider, which makes he can't play both.
No, you can't.
Now, you don't play with the tight end, I know. I'm not this year, actually, which is really uncomfortable for me. But everybody's blocking down. We're doubling his big old rear end all the way back. This guy's a Division I cat. He's going to Western Kentucky to play right now. This was the #1 center in the country that's at UK, University of Kentucky right now. They had two really good players they put here on this play to stop. We beat this team really well. There's our double team.
Nice.
Got up to nice.
There's our runner. You're going to love this from the end zone. You can drive a truck through this hole. Boom, double team. Driving to second level. Look at the hips together right there. There's nobody back here to come off on, so we're staying on it. A-gap play. A-gap power. Show it from the end zone. Same thing. They got a lot of cats in A-gap. He's going to run this right off the hash. We hit power in A-gap. You're going to get a double team here to this backer. This is a progression too. When do you come off on a linebacker on a double team? Do you remember?
When he commits.
When either the second level defender adds himself to first level, or we've moved first level to second. That's our rule. It's a progression. If he adds himself, we take him. If we move to him, we take him. Other than that, we stay on the double team. Boom. There's the postman holding it up. Mailman delivers the blow into the hip. We smash him right into the backer. Look at that hole right there off of A-gap. Vertical. All right, this is a tray. We're going to double here, back to the linebacker. Postman's the tackle. Mailman is the tight end. Boom. We don't come off till we either put him into second level or first level ads. Boom, we put him into second level. Now we're coming off. Look at the hole. See, he don't ever get touched, man. He's kind of fast. Brewer, you got to get you one of those.
I agree.
Well, watch this. Big dude, we're moving him to there. Watch the pop step.
Yeah.
Hips together. He's holding it up. He's moving it. Boom, right into the second level. Guard wraps. He skip pulls around, eyes inside, finds the linebacker. You get a hat on a hat like this, you better score points.
I really like the pop step.
Makes a huge difference on a double
Yeah,
team.
because the angle
What's that dude doing?
the angle you get is great.
We've got clowns too, guys. All right, different play. These are all different plays. Some of it's been straight power, some of it's been power read. This is actually veer, but it's all the same techniques built into. Our line play is very simple. We work double teams constantly because anytime we're down blocking in a game, if I don't have a guy inside of me, I'm helping the guy next to me and I'm the postman now. Because if I can hold that cat up, that dude can move it. He can be the mailman. Mailman, postman. We're about to take that cat for a ride. Boom. Same thing, you should get a pop step right here in case that guy crosses my face. There it is. Under him, fighting over the top. We tried to push him into the backer, but we fell down. But that's okay. It's still a great football play.
I mean, even if you don't get the backer, it's
He's got to avoid
really
you.
hard for the backer to get there.
Yeah, he's got to avoid. We're making him uncomfortable.
If that
We're
happens,
going-
my linebackers are missable.
We're going here now. We're doubling here to here. This is power out of Wildcat. Boom. Hips together. See how we lift him up? He had to avoid. We never came off on him, but that's okay. It gave us one extra for the guard. Okay, that's a decent run. Honestly, one thing that frustrates me is when we get doubles and we put them on the ground like that, and we end up on the ground too because we can't get the backers. And sometimes this is going to happen when you're doubling as much as we do. Watch the pop step from the right tackle. Boom. Look at the hips together.
Yeah, very nice.
And
If
there
you
it
get
is.
the hips together and they work together, I mean, they're going to put people on the ground.
that's exactly right. All right, we've worked reach block. We've worked reach block on down linemen. This should have been bumped up to reach the linebacker level. This is before our double team progression. All right, Coach Clark man there on putting this together. That's my bad. Now we're working reach to backers. So, no, it wasn't him, it was me, this Coach Clark. So now we're working linebacker level, so we're uncovered, so we turn our shoulders, and I'm running to the hip of the next down lineman. If his hip goes away, I'm going to backer right now. You have to practice this on outside zone if you want to get to linebackers. I think this is one of the harder blocks to do. I make them open up, first step, we progress it. We rip the elbow like we went on a trap pole. It's the same technique. Same technique. Now we're ripping and running. We're hitting on an angle.
Yeah.
Those bags are not straight up. They're turned on the angle. See how that's on an angle?
Coach, question on that.
He's got a huge ass. Look at that. Yeah. What you got?
Aiming points for in terms of running.
Good.
Where are you aiming? If you have an uncovered backside guard, what's
Hip
his,
of the next down lineman.
Okay, but after when he's
Hip away climb.
yeah, it's like what's his climbing aiming point?
Depends on how the linebacker's running.
Okay.
And that's something that's hard to understand.
Yeah.
We have to chase on a pursuit angle to where they're going. We have to understand where the ball's going. So outside zone. It does me no good to step to his hip goes away, climb vertical, because that backer's running.
Exactly, that's my point.
I've got a clip on here I want to show you in a second. We played a team that has a linebacker that was fast as hell, and you'll be shocked how flat we chase it.
We'll usually, like, when we coach it and talk about it, we like to see it as, if you're on the back side, your aiming point should be on the front side inside linebacker.
Yeah, you're going to run a
That's where
linebacker
you're
spot over to get to him.
And if you're on the play side, it's almost like out on the outside linebacker because that's where you have to run it.
Now what I do is pre-snap, I make them look at who their guy's going to be, look at his numbers, and while I'm reaching to the hip, I've got to periph him and see what rate he's moving.
Because I think that's really one of the big issues that we have on the outside zone is getting through second level, and we might get there, but we're chasing the back of it.
Well, and it's hard if you get to their backside hip, they're over the top, they make the play.
Exactly.
I'd rather over pursue and make them run underneath because they're probably going to be late.
That's true.
And then we should push pull.
Are you going to do push pull tomorrow, or you did today, right?
We did some. We're going to do zone tomorrow. We didn't do any zone work today. We're going to do this tomorrow.
Very nice.
This is stuff we do constantly, guys. We don't ever take for granted they know how to do it. These are my starting varsity players, and we work this stuff all the time. Justice turned him the wrong way there. Trey's fun to watch. He's going to be pretty good. But the angle back, the back of the angle is important too. Like the way the defense is set up is vital here. All right, we're reaching. I just don't know what the hell way we're reaching yet. Okay. Watch. Oh, I see what this is. These two, our tight end and our wing, are doubling him to linebacker. So we got a tight end wing double team here, but it's the same concept. We're reaching to the next down lineman. Look in the backers. Boom. He reached hard. He did not. He gets in his way a little bit. You see that? That's why I don't like using running blocks and techniques on the line very well. We're going to double here to backer. Boom. Eyes up. Come off on him right there. We took him to second level. Same concept. When we get him to second level, now we wheel on him. There he goes. Same deal. Watch these guys double here. Boom. Second level. Right here, push pull. Right here, push pull. We run to them fast, and then we turn them and we push pull them. Creates creases. This is pretty good stuff too. This is that lineman Trey when he played tight end a little bit last year. He takes a vertical step because he's got nobody to reach to. He realizes he's wrong. Watch the angle. He gets back on to pick up that backer and run with him. He gets beat over the top because he has his hand on him. He never stops running. He still gives the back a chance to cut. All right, Sebastian, here's a great answer to your question. How do we know what angles we're going to take? Every weekend before we get into a game, I'm watching our opponent. I watch their linebackers, especially in the box. And I evaluate, are they, especially their Mike. Is their Mike linebacker, every defense is different. Some are set up that their Mike is a tackle-to-tacker player. Some linebackers are runners, okay? This is a team by the name of Harlan County. We went and played them. They were third in the state. This is the second round of the playoffs. The year we went 10-2. We were expecting to get our butts kicked. We went down there and we put it on them. It's one of the biggest wins we've ever had. This linebacker was the best linebackers in the state of Kentucky. They would cover everybody up. See how these guys covered up? And they would let him. He would run the field. He ran about a 4.6. He was a runner. So here's what we did. Our center's job on outside zone all week was I put my fastest player in at linebacker, and I said, you chase Damian Harris. And he did. And our center had to get on angles here and here to get to him constantly. And because of that, this kid made like 4 tackles the whole game. Watch this right here, Sebastian. He knew he had to take a flat angle. I told him, I don't care where you are on him. You have got to get a piece of him so we can make our cut and he can't make plays. Our center was an average player. And you'll see the angle he takes here, how flat he is. They're on the hash. He's making contact with him halfway between the numbers and the hash. He never went vertical at all. He just took off on a flat angle knowing he was going to react to the play. We're on him long enough that if we get the block on the edge, we did that to that cat the whole game.
One of the best high school linebackers I've seen.
He was damn good. And we bothered the shit out of him because we took the one lineman that was uncovered's job was to beat him to the ball and meet him there. These are our skip pulls. We worked these today. I'll just dabbled in it. Stay square, back, cross over, downhill.
One thing on the skip pull, a question for you, Coach. I think what we've noticed is that, especially when we're running in games, that our guards tend to get
Too deep.
too deep.
Okay.
Do you have them turn their hips, or are
Nope.
you like?
We are totally square. It is back,
Yeah.
over,
Exactly.
down. Now here's the deal. If you don't get any movement, they're going to have to get deep because they've
Sure.
got to get around everybody. That's why we've got to get movement up front. That's why you're running it 2 or 3 technique. You've got to move the 3 or the guard's got to bubble around
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
You run it to the nose, the guard has an easy down block, he can slide right off of it. All right, it's a little easier on the skip pull. Watch us here, we're running power. My right guard is going to skip pull around, he stays square, he finds the linebacker coming over the top. Eyes are inside, boom, sees square, he sees it. This is our power book. So book is read to us, we read a book. So this is the same play you're running right now, so your power read. Here comes our puller, boom. See how he fits that linebacker right there, Sebastian? Now watch, he's not very deep.
Here you're running into the toward 2 technique. Head up.
Right here we're running it to a 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're doubling him.
Let me see.
Yeah,
Ooh,
try
what did my guard not do?
pops that.
Yeah, and look, he gets his ass beat inside.
And this, I mean, this is
That's killer.
that should be it. I mean, if he's in a 2,
He can go inside all day in a 2.
yeah,
That's stupid of my guard.
he should be. I mean, and
That's bad coaching. He shouldn't be doing that. That's bad coaching. But look at my guard stay square. He comes off of that
Yeah,
and
he-
finds the backer.
he-
That's the crease you're looking for. Because he's square and fine. If he's not square, he's going to run into all that garbage. He slides by it, finds that, we've got our crease. Here's a trap pull drill. We did do this today. I don't think these guys liked this drill today. Jensen, you didn't like this drill, did you? It's a fun drill, isn't it?
I
It's
want to do
comedy
it.
people.
They were killing each other on this drill today. All right, now see how this drill transfers to the field. And that's the key, guys. It's got to transfer. Watch my right guard right here. Right guard is going to pull and trap the first down lineman to show. He should hit low to high, and he should roll his hips into the block and finish it over the bags. Boom. It's the same drill. All right, so you've got to turn the drills into the field. And then a zone double team's a little different. We'll get into those tomorrow. Backside cutoff scoop. We cut a shitload on every time we run outside zone. We're cutting on the backside.
Are you
You guys
allowed?
have got-
Are you going to be allowed to cut next year?
Yeah,
We won't.
that's not American football then. That's Swedish football.
NFL and college changing. So are we.
What do you mean they're changing?
You're not allowed to cut anymore.
That's stupid. The problem's not cutting. The problem is people not cutting right.
Haven't you seen the latest rule changes?
No, I'll get to that in the fall.
Okay. Yeah.
No, we work cut drills on bags.
We were allowed to do it this year, so we're gonna definitely be doing it this year.
Man, we cut the shit out of everybody up front. Now, we're not allowed to cut in space, but we work cutting constantly, and you'll see why. Watch this. Watch the center, right guard, right tackle. My kids know anytime we're backside on an outside run play, you have freedom to cut. Now, here's the reason that cut's becoming illegal. People are high-lowing guys and tearing up knees. So you'll get cut, and I'll do this. We have calls. Anything that has to do with cutting, bleed, scissors, razor, we make that call. So if I'm going to cut you, I will point to you and I will look at the guy next to me and I'll go, bleed, bleed. He now knows I'm not going to touch that guy because he's going to cut him. And we very rarely high-low. I don't let my young guys cut
Okay.
because they don't really understand just our varsity cuts.
You're only allowed to cut at U17 level.
Okay,
Not
that's
before.
kind of how we are.
Yeah.
That's not the rule, but that's what we
We
do.
had an issue of
Boom.
the high lows before, but now Carl, he fixed that. I think.
I hope.
When is the cut useful? When you're playing bigger, stronger linemen or quicker linemen. It's an equalizer. So you'll see us in here, they started penetrating, we're going to cut the hell out of them. Boom. Just like the bag drills are. They both were on the same page, that's why they both cut at the
So
same
you
time.
let the center cut also?
Oh, we cut the shit out of people at center.
Okay.
When we run power to the shade,
Yeah.
we cut the 3 technique 8 out of 10
You just
times.
have him- So do you have him like bear crawl through it, or
We cut,
Yeah.
crawl, get up and run.
Yeah.
So if we miss him, now here's the trick. Watch this play. Watch this. You don't cut on the first step. If I step and throw, I'm diving. You cut on the second step. If he does this right, he'll put 1 foot in the ground on the second step he throws. Watch his feet. 1, 2, throw.
Yeah.
You see how far it takes him across the body? We cut the far side thigh board, not the feet. When we do bad in games is when we dive at feet and we're tired.
I think
You asked for an example, I've got a cat where we cut I've got that on here.
I mean, just in terms of cutting and kind of the efficiency of it, I think doing like what you guys we were talking about it last year. I think almost doing a bear crawl.
The
Just
problem with
through-
bear crawling is there's no power in it. That's why I don't
Oh.
just bear crawl. And plus, if you were a lineman, you like getting your hands stepped on?
No.
I don't either, man.
But I mean,
That crap hurts.
kind of more in terms of the coaching aspect of it, driving your feet through it.
Driving your feet through
Yeah,
it.
exactly,
Yes, it's the
and
similar
then
term.
getting up on it, because I think otherwise you have people
Yeah.
launching into it each other,
Yeah.
and if you coach it as like you're doing the bear crawl, it does help in that sense that they're driving their feet.
Here we are, play 48, so we're probably in the second quarter. All right, backside. They're all cut. Boom. Take down 3, 4 guys. And the reason I got the end zone on here is watch. He should cut this hip. Does that make sense? They should get to the far hip, the play side hip. Play side hip. Now he's just diving. That's not very good by him, but he gets him down. Boom. See how he's coming across his body? He's across his body. See his head to, or shoulder to the thigh board. That's what we want right there. Boom. They're all dropped like, fold them up like lawn chairs. Progression. Questions? I know I sped through that, but a lot of you guys have heard our run game, my run progression stuff before.
Yeah.
So, to sum up, progression is important. You have to know what order you need to teach what you're teaching. And a way to find how to progress is looking at what you're doing on the field, what situations you're putting your guys in, teaching those things in a progression in practice. And then the situations they're in on the field have got to be the situations you put them in practice.
I think what's interesting, we were talking about kind of getting the feet apart and lowering the hips and sinking the hips. What we did this off-season was we kind of broke down tackling for us into 3 separate parts. So we call it tackle angle, tackle approach, and tackle attack. And if you look at the tackle approach, that is basically, that's the same thing in terms of blocking, stock blocking, tackling. It's all getting
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's all going from a sprint to some sort of control, just getting under control.
It's coming to balance and
Yeah.
under control.
And
We
you
do
can-
come to balance drills
And
constantly.
we can do it with all the entire team, just run it through, and it's the same thing. And we see a lot of progression in terms of blocking on wide receivers, getting into tackles, just getting into a position to be able to make a block, stuff like that.
Awesome. Any questions at all? Yes.
You said that you have progression set up for every position on the team.
Yes.
Which
coaches
coach
do.
is responsible for doing that?
The head position coach. Now, I've not checked and I should. All my position coaches should have progression listed like that they can give to the younger coaches.
Yeah.
I know they all teach progression because I watch it. So I know Coach Colbert's got a progression. He's going to take you through progression of DB play. All right? I know they do it. I don't know that everybody per se has, like I know right now my linebacker coach is working on a linebacker progression film, because this is what we need to teach the young guys that come into our program as freshmen. It's important to sit down and show them what we're doing. But you have to have it. Every one of my positions has it. D-line, we work get-offs. We work hands first on the D-line. If we don't have hands on D-line, we're beat. So that's the first part of our progression is hands. And then we say feet follow hands. So my hands are first and then my feet are next. Backfield progressions. Depends on what our offense is, but it tends to start with footwork, then ball security, and then we teach specific moves and cuts off of blocking schemes. But if we can't hold the ball and put our feet in the right position, we can't run the ball. All right, so receivers, we have to teach them how to catch it before we teach them how to do anything. So that'd be the first phase of the receiver progression, then a good stance. All right, so we have that at every position, though, yeah.
And when you're running drills with the O-line like the ones you showed here, are the guys holding the dummies the O-line players, or are you bringing?
Yeah, they're O-line. So we go from like offense to defense. We're like you guys.
Yeah.
My O-line and D-line are the same guys. I've got 80 kids, but when it comes to Friday night, I've got about 8 that can play on Friday nights and help us win at a high level. So they've got to play both sides of the ball. So now I do separate my younger guys in practice. Like we'll be in a drill. Varsity's here, JV's in the middle, freshmen are on the end. Those 8 are working together, these 10 JV guys are working together, and these 12 freshmen are working together. So that they don't slow down the varsity. And sometimes that freshman will never leave that first part of the progression. The JV may get 2 further and the varsity may get through it all. And that's why we separate them, is because if not, they don't progress during practice. This time of year for us, which is our summer ball, we're not playing yet. We're not running plays right now. All I do is work line progression techniques right now. We won't start running plays till middle of July for August. Some people do that backwards. Some people run nothing but plays in June and then work technique in July. I like to get the technique right before I run the plays. I don't like running the plays wrong. That bothers me.
I just have one thing to add to what you were saying on the progression and the whole thing, which I think is I think it's super smart, but it's sometimes we try to do it, and then when we teach the parts, we don't teach them how they fit into the whole. I think that's really important, an important aspect of it, kind of explaining that this block is going to work in this way, and it's important due to this.
I think running back is an area where progression is lost in teaching whole, part, whole, because a lot of people take their running backs, they do all these drills, but they don't teach them the line blocking schemes. Yeah. So they don't understand what angles the line. Like our running backs know power is an A-gap run play. If I sit in our meeting room and I go, where's power here? All our backs are going to go A-gap. And they know it's A-gap because they know our guard has to stay square and get through A-gap, and they're following the guard, not the fullback. And our quarterback knows it's follow the guard in A-gap. If they don't know the guard's going in A-gap, they ain't going to follow it. So I think it's important your running backs understand your blocking schemes. It's important your linemen know where the ball's going. Because if they think the ball is going inside, but it's going outside, they're going to take a straight angle to a guy that's running lateral. They have to know where the ball's going. I require my linemen to know where's the football going. So we'll be in the middle of practice, and I'll be like, all right, we're working reach blocks. And I'll go, we're reaching right. And I'll go, where's the ball going on stretch right? And they'll all point outside here. So I make them do that to understand who knows where the ball's supposed to go. Good. Anybody have anything else? Sebastian, we'll take like a 5-minute break. And
Yeah,
then,
I think we should. That'd be awesome.
Got some guys dozing here a little bit.
Yep.
So.
I'm going to